Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, sometimes elements of satire or horror and, well, a little bit of fantasy and everything else in between end up colliding in some pretty fascinating ways. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with, once more, as always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because you're listening right now. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can find us basically at all of your favorite providers: Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. We're pretty much everywhere. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. You can find us on the Facebook, the Twitter, and the Instagram, as the kids call it. Of course, at In the Seats, for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because if we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please pay us a visit. On this episode, we got an interesting one. It had a limited theatrical run, but it's also on VOD. We're talking about Squeal. It's the story of a young man lost in the remotest part of Eastern Europe, and he's a foreigner searching for his biological father, when a minor road accident leads to a chance meeting with a pig farmer's daughter, who ends up capturing him and making him a slave on the farm. It is from co-writer-director, Aik Karapetian. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong, but it's got a lot of deadpan humor in it, but it's also kind of brutal and kind of a little scary in moments, too. It's a fun, interesting ride, but I know it is available on VOD platforms now, so check out your favorite one and go check it out if this sounds like it appeals with you. But first, enjoy our talk with Aik, because it's a good one.
Obviously, just first off, man, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Now, congratulations on the movie, man. I mean, I loved it. I mean, it's grim, but there's a sense of humor to it at the same time. I mean, walk me through, I guess, sort of the origin of it all on your end.
Good question. It's my first time making a comedy, films, and I don't know. I just wanted to make a comedy without jokes.
Right.
And just with very odd situations, very like confusing kind of scenes, but at the same time very ironic. So it means that with a very serious face, I try to make jokes without jokes. So, and I think sometimes it works, and especially when I discovered that sometimes when you tell 2 plus 2, and the third character is not saying 4, but you make for audience this result to be in their head, so it works.
No, it absolutely does, man. And I mean, I think the use of language in the film is definitely sort of important. Was it big for you to make sure that there was always a language barrier between the characters to sort of get that environment going?
Yeah. It's we had very international kind of process, because actor is from Belgium, and we had like a Latvian cast and the crew, and it was sometimes even funnier than in front of camera. But what I understood, that when you make a funny scene, and the crew is laughing, it means that is not going to work on the screen. When nobody is laughing, it means that it's going to work, and that actually it is true.
Well, I mean, I guess that goes into my next question. I can imagine it was difficult to sort of find that sweet spot and be laughing too much or have it be serious too much. How did you, as the director, sort of manage to find sort of that perfectly funny, unfunny moment?
I think that nobody nobody had an idea that we are making a comedy because I didn't tell them. I told them that we are making a fairy tale, a horror with a horror elements about the slavery and the pigs, and they thought, oh gosh, it is going to be the most depressive film. And I remember that showing like kind of draft of editing to some people from the crew. They were very surprised what kind of movie it turned out. And but I had this film in my head. I knew that only finding a right pace and sometimes when you hold the close up too long, and it can work out as a very funny. It's very funny, not funny like but you are laughing, but that you are smiling all the time. So I wanted like to make a film where the audience smiles all the time, and the audience is smiling all the time, not laughing so much. But the reaction in different countries are very different. For example, I was like in Estonia, and people were laughing like all the time, and there was I started to think that maybe film is so bad that they are like that they're making they just laugh about me. But then afterwards, one Estonian guy told me, "Oh, it was such a funny film." And I asked him, "Yeah, but you know, I'm not sure that Latvians will laugh." But I'm very happy that Estonians are laughing. And he told me, "Yeah, because the film was about Latvians, not Estonians. That is why we were laughing."
How long of a shoot was it? Because I mean, like in watching it, I felt bad for Kevin. I mean, I got to imagine he was pretty cold through most of the shoot.
It was very hot summer actually, but
it was okay.
But in the night shootings, it was very cold, yeah, and it was a challenge for Kevin. We had 34 shooting days, but only because of Piglet, because initially I had an idea that, not the idea, but it was also written in the script that the Piglet is speaking in a human language. And that is why we like spend a lot of time in shooting these piglets, because we should like stand in a very certain position and have a very certain like eye line. During the editing, I understood that it doesn't work because in the middle of film starts a new film when the piglet starts to talk in a human language, and so I decided like to throw away all dialects of a piglet and to see how it works. And I understood that everything is clear without putting the words in the mouth of a piglet, you know. So I decided, okay, I don't want this piglet to talk in a human language, because it also I don't like when people, you know, when they see a film about the piglet, they start to compare with a Babe film.
Right. Yeah. These are definitely two very different films.
Yeah, very different kind of films. So only similarities, but there is a piglet, and that's all.
Is that where the use of the narrator came from?
It was in a script from the first draft, and I remember my producer, my co-writer, everyone was struggling, and they tried to convince me not to use narrator. And then I sent them the draft with narrator and without a narrator, and I convinced them that we need a narrator because he adds in the film a very ironic tone, and the film becomes lighter, you know, it's not so heavy. Because without the narrator, film becomes very kind of slow and dark, actually.
No, for sure. I can see that. And I mean, I'm curious, like for you, what is it about this kind of story that draws you in? Because I mean, like you say, it like there's obviously some very dark elements, but if you're paying close enough attention, it's funny too. So, and it's an interesting combination of the two. Like for you, is that the kind of story that draws you in when you're looking to make a film?
You know, I was working a lot on finding the right style of storytelling, of telling the story. Because when you read the script, you can perceive it like in very different ways. And I remember that I rewatched Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick.
Oh wow! Okay.
And actually, that film is it's been inspired by that film a lot in terms of the style. We zoom scene out with classic music, with narrator, with very odd close-ups longs, and it was like Yeah, and yes, I should like tell it in the terms of illustrations of fairy tale book. How
Yeah,
Berlin is made. It's like a comic book actually. It's like illustration of this
for sure.
novel. And I thought, yes, we need to try it. I need to find a fresh way. And I know that Berlin is not the most famous film by Stanley Kubrick, the most beloved one. But for me, it's one of the best films in the film history. It's perfect film. It's one
Oh,
of the
I agree
perfect
with you
films.
there for sure. And now that you even bring it up, I mean, I'm smiling because I can see it the second you brought it up, and that makes me enjoy it even more. And I mean, I'm kind of curious, and I mean, this is a dumb question, but it's one I always like to ask. Can you think back to you as a younger man? Like, what were the movies that got you into this business in the first place?
Can you please repeat?
Like when you were a young man, sort of growing up, like was there a movie that made you want to decide to be a filmmaker?
One movie? No.
It could be multiple.
I remember what I was a kid. I was watching with my father by TV a Pulp Fiction by Tarantino, and that was like a shock when I was watching this rape scene in the
Right.
basement. I was like, "What the fuck I'm looking at? It's like the most crazy. It's the craziest film I've seen in my life." And I remember that at that moment, I thought that it would be cool if I would be if I was a director of this film. I've never thought about that I could be a director, but it was like the first time when I thought that it would be so great to be a director of this film. But also, I've been inspired and influenced by the French films, by Godard especially,
For sure.
Jean-Luc Godard, and he inspired me that I can just take a camera and to shoot anything what I want. But I grew up in front of TV, and I had even sunglasses not to spoil my eyes because I was all the time from the morning to the night. I was watching all the time TV. And when I need to finish the school, I needed to decide what I'm going to do. And I remember that I wasn't a good student at school. I didn't like to learn in school. But I remember my father told me that just think what you like to do, and it will be like an answer on your question. I remember I thought I love to watch movies, but I don't want to be a film critic. I always wanted to be a clown or an actor, but I hate to learn the texts, by the heart. So I decided that I will try to make films, and we started these classic stories with video 8 cameras or mini DV cameras. There's one guy who had this kind of camera, and it was like 90s, very poor time after a collapse of the Soviet Union. And in our like neighborhood, one guy had a camera because he was from a rich family. So we started to make small films, and I understood that I love it.
It's funny. You and I have the exact opposite answers. I always wanted to be a film critic. Now, I mean, I've got to ask, like, who came up? Because I know this Squeal isn't the original title, but I mean, like, I almost prefer the original one, to be perfectly honest, because it's definitely a bit more. It gets you more into the mood of the story that you're trying to tell. Like, was that just a marketing thing, or was it, like who came up? Like, what led to the title change to Squeal?
Guys from US distributors, they decided to change the title. The original title is inspired by Preston Sturges' film Sullivan's Travels.
Yeah.
And so I thought that it would be very funny because I was watching an interview with Browser Coins, and I don't remember, they were like promoting which film, and they told in that interview that they wanted to call film Sullivan's Travel as Preston Sturges. And I thought, oh, it's a great idea. They didn't do it, so I will do it.
Well, you know what, man, I can't wait for more people to see this film, man, because I mean it's dark, but I mean it's deadpan funny, and just it's going to reward the right audiences, and I can't wait for people to see it, man. And just I thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you, David.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.